In this video, I will show you how you can video track motion using LoggerPro. What we have here is a video that I've already inserted. If you need to see a lesson on how to insert a movie into LoggerPro, refer to a different video. But what we want to show you right now is how you actually analyze this. So what we have to do first is, if we hit the play button, we can see what the movie is. It's actually two carts that are racing side by side. If we hit stop and we rewind the movie, what we'll notice here is that there are 15 frames. Okay, and these 15 frames that we see here, it's telling us that we are currently on 0 of 15, and if we click, it'll put us through the frames of the movie. So each frame, if we advance here, we can see the number changing, is taking us to a new spot. Now, what we plan on doing is tracking this and indicating our position at certain intervals of time. So what we're going to do is, to enable tracking, we're going to click on this button here. This enables your tools. And I just want to take you through these couple of tools, what they do. This tool here is a moving tool or selecting point. Right now, there are no points to select. Before we do any tracking, one of the most important things to recognize is to actually put an origin, so you can define where the screen is going to begin. And what this will, in essence, do is turn this screen into a piece of graph paper. So if I, for example, click right here, we'll say right here. What that's going to do is this turns this into a graph paper. So most of the motion we see here will be in quadrant 1. Quadrant 2 is over here. Quadrant 3, there's a little piece of it here, and quadrant 4 is here. If we take a look as I'm moving my mouse around, you can see the actual ordered pairs of where I am in X and Y as I move around. So we can see that I have positive values for both in quadrant 1, but down here in quadrant 4, I have negative values for the Y. All right, but that basically what this will do is it sets up our points on the screen. Now, the next thing the computer needs to do is it needs to know how big this screen actually is. So there's a meter stick that is laying here, and this is useful in video analysis to understand how big your video is. So we click on this set scale tool. Please note we use this tool, not this tool. This tool is for how far away from the camera you are. We don't know that. So if we click on here and we stretch out, we see this green line forming. This green line is specifying some kind of distance. It's counting the amount of pixels that are here. And when this window opens up, we say, how big is this distance that you stretched out? Now it's defaulted to 1 meter, and that's why it's convenient to use a 1 meter stick here. I could put any value I want with any unit I want, but we'll say it's 1 meter. So we'll hit OK. So now we've established the size of the dots. We've established where the starting point will be. We'd like to begin tracking. Now, before we start, what we'll do is if we're going to track the car, we simply click on this tool here. And when we click on this tool, this will add points, and we can just simply click on a target. So in this case, I'm going to use the yellow dot. When I click on this, we see that the cart moves. Now, the frame has moved to a new frame. The cart is in a new location. And what the computer is doing is saving that data. So if I click again and then click again, what we see is that it lays a dot on every frame, but it leaves a trail of the dots. This graph behind here is going to start plotting these pairs that we are producing, and we'll be able to create we have a motion diagram forming here, and from this motion diagram we will be able to form a position and time graph. We'll also be able to create other graphs if we would like. All right, so this is how we establish our points. Now let's say I've made a mistake in this point. For example, when I was reaching, I accidentally clicked here. You don't need to worry. If we turn on this tool here, you can just simply click that point and you can delete it. Or I could do the same thing. I'll put another point in here that's stray. And I can actually click here and move it where I want. Now, this was actually supposed to be on this frame here. So if I have to fix that, I would put it on the frame that it was supposed to be at. So I can move the points around if I absolutely need to. I think it's generally easier just to delete it, though, like we said. Rewind back to where you are and just reestablish a brand new point. Totally up to you how you do it, though. But again, these points are put down on these specific frames. So that point was laid down on that particular frame. All right, so that's how we lay our points down. This tool right here, these three, are actually just visibility tools. If I don't want to see the dots, if they're cluttering my path, I can hide them. They're not gone. I can just hide them as needed. Okay, this right here is the origin. If I don't want to see the origin, if for any reason that's in my way, I can get rid of that. Okay, and this one here, we'll get rid of the scale if I don't want to see it. Okay, but they're just visibility. It doesn't delete them, it just hides them. All right, finally, the last thing I want to show you is if we wanted to track this car, how we would do that. Well, if we use the same blue dots, the computer isn't smart enough to realize that I'm talking about a different track, it just will think that as I get to the end of the video, I just started clicking somewhere else. So we need to establish as a brand new set of points. That's very simple. All we do is click on this tool here that's called Set Active Point. Okay, and we're going to add a point series. Now, when I've clicked on that, I'm going to click it again so you can see what it did. It added a point series, and it's labeling these points as x2s and y2s. So it's creating new ordered pairs of x2 and y2 values. The first set were x1s and y1s. If I take the video back to the beginning, and I advance through my frames, and now I have this point active here, you will see that when I click using my set points, I don't need to set the scales again, by the way. When I click here, you'll notice that red dots are starting to form. Now this one appears that it hasn't moved, but that's only because it's not going very fast at the beginning. So if I advance a few frames, I can lay a new point. And again, if I show the dots, I can see the dots that were made, and I can do exactly the same task. All right, and then I've shown you all the tools that you need now. So now we have an understanding of how you can track something in LoggerPro. Just a word of advice, after you've tracked everything, as you're moving back and forth between windows, just remember that this tool might be useful to use because this will prevent me from actually adding extra points by accident. Finally, one last thing. After you've tracked it, if you click on the graph to get a peek at what it looks like, it feels like the graph has vanished. It really has not. It's only behind the screen. LoggerPro is made up of a series of windows. We got a data table window, we've got our graph window, and we have the video window, but it's behind. So all you would simply do is right click on this, and you can do move to back, and that brings the video back up to the front, and now it becomes active again. I can start using it. Hopefully this tutorial was useful in understanding the tools of LoggerPro's video analysis, and good luck with your video analysis.